Senator Warren. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I don't think I can top that. I don't have nearly enough material. Many of you know, you've heard me come before you and talk about the fact that I started my career here as a staff person. So one of my jobs was to make sure that the bosses that I worked for were armed with the pages and pages of material to make sure that they could have the facts and figures and statistics they needed to make good decisions when they came before this chamber. The colleagues that have spoken before us, especially the good senator from the 2nd District, certainly gave us a lot of facts and figures and statistics to think about. But when I joined the chamber across the dome here as a state representative, one of the things I figured out really quickly is that we see a lot of stats and facts and figures, and often it's the personal stories that linger with us longer than one more spreadsheet of graphs and facts and figures. So I'm going to give my no vote explanation today, if I may, Mr. President, in story form. And I'm going to, in honor of my good colleague from the 1st District, start this way. Mr. President, I would like to start with a quote. Alongside our famous individualism, there is another ingredient in the American saga, a belief that we are all connected as one people. It is that belief. It is that fundamental belief. I believe I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper that makes this country work. It's what allows us to pursue our individual dreams, yet still come together as a single American family. From then Senator, now President Barack Obama's keynote address to the 2004 Democratic National Convention. For a lot of Americans, and certainly for a lot of Michiganders, the union becomes your family. The story I'm going to tell you is a story of one man and his journey with his union family. He was an outstanding high school athlete who fell in love, maybe was a little more amorous than he should have been, ended up finding himself at 17 with a 16-year-old pregnant girlfriend that he married. The day after he turned 18, his father-in-law, who was a union man himself, helped him get a job in the local union factory in the town that he grew up in. 18 years old, only a high school education, a wife, and a baby on the way. He had the right to collective bargain and got a salary that meant that they could have their first little apartment and they could start to build their little family. And he did, and they did. And eventually they had a 2nd daughter, and a 3rd daughter, and a 4th daughter. Still, just him working. Mom stayed home and took care of the kids. But that salary that he earned at that union job with just his education from high school meant that they had enough to pay the bills. And that union family that was his family helped through the tough times. And the tough times came. Twice, while he was in his 20s, the union shop that he worked at went on strike. Striking for better working conditions, striking for appropriate levels of pay. And during that time, this little family survived on $80 a week of strike pay. 4 daughters, 2 parents, $80 a week strike pay. And so they did fun things, the union family. They had potlucks with other union family members so that they helped take care of each other, helped feed each other. That's what we're talking about. When one day one of his friends got hurt on the job, because of his union family, they were able to go to management and they were able to make sure that that faulty piece of equipment was taken out of service that day immediately, fixed before it was put back to use so that nobody else got hurt. Because of his union family, they made sure nobody else got hurt. That's what we're talking about. Safe working conditions, people working together to make sure they have what they need. Now, he was maybe a little lucky in some ways, maybe a little unlucky in some ways. All 4 of those daughters of his ended up needing braces. And there were times when people thought he must have been an orthodontist, because otherwise how could he have afforded to have all of his daughters in braces at the same time? But his union contract had good health insurance, including dental, including orthodontics. So all 4 of his daughters ended up having those braces and hopefully beautiful smiles to this day. Because of his union family, he had vacation. And every summer, he would get in the car with those 4 daughters and his wife and visit Pure, Michigan. Anywhere you could go on a day trip, they went and visited. The state parks, the Great Lakes that make the state such an amazing place to be. Because of his union family, he got to take a vacation every year with his kids and his wife. 30 years and 4 months, literally to the day that he started working in that union shop, that company made a decision to move a plant from his small hometown somewhere else. But because he had 30 years and 4 months to the day in, he got to retire. A lot of his other colleagues that he worked with there at the plant got a little severance package. His daughter, who was in middle school, heard the numbers that they were throwing around about what those severance packages look like, and it was numbers like $17,000. They each got $17,000 when the union shop picked up and moved out of town, and it sounded like the world. But most of us know now, $17,000 doesn't last very long when you've got 4 kids and a wife and no other prospects of a job that good in a small town like that. But because he had 30 years and 4 months to the day in, he got to retire. And when he retired, because of his union family, they had negotiated a pension that sustains a modest income, a modest lifestyle, but enough to pay the bills, to make sure that, you know, the mortgage is paid, the taxes are paid, the gas and food are available. And because of his union family, health care coverage in his retirement was also negotiated. And so he and his wife, now in their mid-60s, have the assurances that they will still have access to primary care, that they'll still have access to prescriptions, that hopefully they can remain as healthy as they can into their old age. This story of this one man shouldn't be an outlier. It should be what we're here fighting for. We should be saying that kind of a life doesn't need to exist in Michigan. We should be doing, as elected officials, everything we can to make sure everybody in Michigan who's willing to work hard, to come every day, to do the job that they're hired to do, has those things, has the ability to make a wage that sustains a life, a livable wage. That everybody who's willing to work hard and go to work has the right to a safe working condition. That they have a right to a little bit of vacation every summer so that they can visit Pure, Michigan. That they have a right to health care, including dental and vision and prescriptions. That they have a right to a secure retirement after they've put in 30 years of working for a company. Nothing grand, but something modest to sustain a life that's worth living. That's what I was sent here to do. And so today, I'm going to vote no on this so-called right-to-work legislation, because I don't think that my father is the only person in this state that should have had to have that lifestyle. And as the third of those 4 daughters, I'm grateful every day that he has that pension and he has his retirement health care, because as much as I love my parents, I'm glad they're not living with me right now, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to live an independent life for as long as they possibly can because of their union family. So I hope, colleagues, you'll join me in voting no on this very destructive legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.